All right. I was trying to get everything situated. Good afternoon. Let me go find, is it Linda Rippenhagen? I see. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Ms. Rippenhagen, can you please unmute yourself?
There we go.
Okay. Can you please raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you'll give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, Ms. Beal, you may go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please state your full legal name for the court.
Linda Lavin Rippenhagen.
And how did you know the decedent Philip Henry Rippenhagen III?
He was my husband.
And is it true that your husband, at the age of 71, passed away on May 21st, 2021 in Fort Bend County, Texas?
Yes, that's true.
And has 4 years elapsed between your husband's death and the date that when we filed the application for the probate of his will?
No,
And was the decedent residing in Fort Bend County, Texas?
yes, he was.
And to your knowledge, did your husband leave a will?
Yes,
And to your knowledge, did your husband pass away without revoking his will?
yes,
And the will dated December 12, 2008 names you as independent executrix to serve without bond or other security, correct?
yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I request that the court take judicial notice that the court has received the original will.
I will, thank you.
Thank you so much. Was there a child or children born to or adopted by your husband after execution of his will?
No,
And did your husband have a marriage dissolved after his will was made?
no,
Is the state of Texas or any charity a devisee under his will?
not that I know of.
And did your husband apply for and receive Medicaid benefits on or after March 1st, 2005?
No,
And are there any unpaid debts owing by your husband's estate?
not that I'm aware of.
And does the necessity exist for the administration of your husband's estate?
No,
However, there is a family home entitled to that home, as well as a title to vehicle that needs to be transferred to your name, correct?
correct. Yes,
No further questions, Your Honor. I ask that the will be admitted to probate as a monument of title only.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rippenhagen. I'm so sorry for your loss.
thank you.
You're welcome. Based on your testimony, I will sign the order admitting your husband's will into probate as a monument of title, and I'm waiving the necessity for filing an affidavit of fulfillment of terms.
Wonderful.
All
Thank
right.
you.
You're very welcome. If there's nothing else, Ms. Field, then you are both excused. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Awesome. Thank you, Judge Wallace.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome. Bye. Good afternoon. Oh, we've got everybody. Okay. Ms. Grimes and Ms. Vargas, can you please unmute yourselves?
Yes, Your Honor. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Ms. Vargas, can you please raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you'll give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, Ms. Grimes, you may proceed.
Ms. Vargas, can you state your full name for the record?
Sure, Yvette Vargas.
And was your father Pedro Vargas?
Yes, he was.
And he passed away on June 9th, 2019. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And he resided in Fort Bend County at the time of his death?
Yes.
And did he leave a will dated October 4th, 2010?
Yes, he did.
Your Honor, I don't have the will to put up on my end. I don't know if you, how your court handles that. Do we need to?
I can do it. I can share the will. Hold on just a second. Just let me open it up. Okay, you should be able to see it now.
It's, I think, coming up now in a second.
Yeah.
It says screen sharing, but it's blank.
It's running really slow. I'm sorry.
That's
It should
okay.
be up now.
I can continue. Oh, there you go. Do you see that document, Ms. Vargas?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And do you recognize that to be the will of your father, Pedro Vargas?
Yes, I do.
And can we go to the signature page?
Yes.
And do you recognize that to be the handwriting and signature of your father?
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, did your father ever revoke this will?
No.
And he named you to be independent executor in the will, is that correct?
Yes.
And did he have any children or adopt any children after signing this will?
No.
Did he have a marriage dissolved after writing this will?
Yes. My mother, Yolanda Inocenta Vargas, she passed away November 5th of 2017.
Okay. And does the will does not name a state government agency or charity as a beneficiary, is that correct?
No.
And he didn't receive Medicaid benefits after March 2005?
No.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, are there any unpaid debts for the father?
No. Nothing.
There's no reason to administer his estate other than transferring title to real property at this time. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. And Ms. Grimes, are you going to be the resident agent for this?
Yes, I think I filed a resident agent form. It should be in your
Okay.
file.
No problem. I just needed to make sure that that was reflected in the
Okay.
record. Okay. All right, Ms. Vargas, based on your testimony, I will sign the order admitting your father's will to probate, and I'm waiving the necessity for filing and fulfillment of terms. Since you are not a resident of the state, I am going to appoint Ms. Grimes as the resident agent.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing else, Ms. Grimes, then you are both excused. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome. Bye-bye. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm pulling everybody in. I apologize. My computer's moving a little bit slow, but everybody should be joining us shortly. It's just lagging a little bit on bringing everybody in.
Okay, thank you.
And so for Mr. Rowland and Mr. Harper, if you could please unmute yourselves and turn on your cameras. I believe they're in the room. We just can't see them. So Mr. Harper, okay, he's connected. And who am I missing? I'm missing Mr. Rowland. Okay. So I've tried to join Mr. Rowland and it's lag. I don't know if it's on my end that it's lagging or if he stepped away from his device and just isn't joining, but it just says joining. It doesn't have him as being
I
brought.
I do not see him anywhere on my screen. So, but
Right, you're not going to see him because he's stuck in the waiting room.
Okay.
So I don't know if he's stuck because of my computer or if he has stepped away from his device and hasn't clicked on the join the room prompt that comes up when I try to bring you in.
Would you like for me to try to call him?
If you can, that would be perfect.
Okay, I'm going to mute you.
Okay. See. Mr. Harper, if you could please turn on your device's camera so that I can see you, that would be great.
Okay. He says that he was timed out, but he's in the waiting room now.
Okay, got it. I just saw him rejoin. He's coming back.
Okay, I can see your T on the screen, Tom. Make sure you turn on your video once you are able to get logged in. Oh, I can see you now. Good. All right, so go ahead and turn on your, well, leave your mute off until we need you to speak. Okay, thank you.
All right, and now we just need Mr. Harper to turn on his camera. Mr. Harper, can you hear us? There he is. Almost. And Mr. Harper, are you there? We can't hear or see you if you're saying anything. Mr. Harper, we can't hear or see you.
Hello.
Oh, now I can hear him.
Well, I don't really see it. I see one that says stop video.
Mr. Harper, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
Can you hear me, Mr. Harper?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm hearing you on the TV or through the phone. Let me hang up the phone.
I've muted my phone now. Why don't you try talking to him?
Okay,
No, I
Mr.
can't
Harper,
hear.
can you hear me?
I can't hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear him, but he can't hear us.
Right.
You may have to just ask him to disconnect and then dial in again. He may just have a bad connection.
Hello? Okay, I'll do it. Sure.
Zoom is always, or can be a challenge.
It can be. And sometimes it's just a breeze. It just goes,
I know,
no issues
I
at
know.
all. Okay, so I'm gonna kick Mr. Harper out. And then that'll force him to have to log in again.
Perfect.
So let's see if we can get that going. Hopefully he'll know that I did that.
So Judge, while we're waiting, I want to give you some background. The reason I have Mr. Harper and Mr. Rowland here today is because the will that's on file is a copy of the original will. We don't unable to locate the original. So Mr. Rowland and Mr. Harper are here in the event that their testimony is needed in order to prove up the copy as a conformed copy.
Okay.
However, I'm going to go ahead and ask questions of my client here today as if it were original will, and then I'm going to explain the circumstances. Now, I prepared the original will and I was the notary on that will. And so I'm going to testify in that regard. And I'm also going to use Texas Rules of Evidence Rule 1003 to prove up the copy of the self-proving affidavit as an authentic copy. So hopefully we don't need the witness testimony.
Okay. I'm okay with that. So is Miss Murphy going to be your first witness?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Miss Murphy, can you please raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you will give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, Mr. McCarty.
All right. You are Gina Murphy,
Yes, I am.
and Daryl Harrison Murphy is your father.
Yes.
And you're here to admit his will to probate,
I am.
and you're the applicant as executor of his estate.
Yes.
And you're named in his will as the first executor.
Yes.
Your father passed away on March the 20th, 2020 in Travis County, Texas.
Yes, that's correct.
And at that time, he was 79 years old, and 4 years have not elapsed since the date of his death.
Correct.
He had a fixed place of residence and domicile in Fort Bend County, Texas,
Yes.
and he left a will.
Yes, he did.
And do you have a copy of the will that was filed with the court on December the 2nd, 2022 in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Judge, I'd like for you to take judicial notice of the copy of the will that was filed on December 2nd, if I may.
I will.
Okay, thank you. Isn't it true, Ms. Murphy, that the original will cannot currently be located?
That's correct.
And you've made a diligent effort to locate that will.
Yes, I have.
And you've gone through all of your father's files and personal property.
Yes, I have.
Is there anywhere else that you could look to locate that will?
No.
So because of that, and because you believe the current will is in fact a copy of his last will and testament, we're here today to admit a copy as a conformed copy of his will.
Yes.
How did you come by the copy that you have in your possession?
Shortly after my father had the will drawn up, he dropped it off in my mailbox.
Okay. And that will is dated February 25th, 2013.
Yes.
And upon looking at the will that you have in your possession, do you recognize your father's signature on that will?
Yes, I do.
And you are, I think Mr. Harper's in the room. And you are a beneficiary on that will along with your siblings,
Yes,
and you're equal beneficiary, share and share alike in the will.
that's correct.
Your siblings are Darren Murphy, Darren Patrick Murphy, and Patricia Ann Murphy.
Yes,
You, Darren, and Patricia are the only 3 children of your father, correct?
that is correct.
Now, each of you have signed and they have filed a consent to 401.002 and 401.003 application and waiver of notices.
Yes,
Judge, I'd like the court to take judicial notice of those waivers that are on file.
I will, thank you.
Among other things in those consents, y'all indicate that you understand that the original last will and testament of your father cannot, by reasonable diligence, be produced, correct?
that's correct.
And all 3 of you further state that you understand that a true and correct copy of the will was filed with the court. And y'all have all been provided with a copy of that will.
Yes,
By virtue of your affidavits, y'all all consent that the copy of the last will and testament is a true and correct copy of the will. And y'all all agree that that copy should be used in the probate of his estate.
yes, that's correct.
Other than you and your brother and your sister, are there any other heirs of your father's estate?
They're not.
And looking at the will, is it apparent that the will was self-proved in a manner that was prescribed by law and provides for an independent administration of his estate?
Yes,
And to the best of your knowledge, that your father, when he signed that will in February of 2013, was he of sound mind and capable of making well?
yes,
And to your best of your knowledge, did he ever revoke that will?
no.
Now, how did he deliver a copy of the will to you?
He dropped it off in my mailbox and then he called to notify me that he'd left something behind for me.
Okay. And if he had revoked the will or made another will, would you anticipate that he would have done the same thing with a subsequent will?
Yes,
But he didn't do that.
no,
Okay. At the time that your father passed away, he owned real property and cash and personal property and household goods in a probable value in excess of $10,000.
yes,
And then a necessity exists for the administration of his estate.
yes,
Is there any reason you can't serve as the independent executor?
no,
And there was no child or children born to him after the date of the will?
no,
And he wasn't married or divorced after the making of the will?
he was not.
And the state is a non-taxable state, and you're asking that bond and appraisers be waived?
Yes,
And the state does not name, the will does not name the state of Texas a government agency of the state of Texas or a charitable organization as the beneficiary?
no.
I have no more questions of Ms. Murphy, Your Honor. If I may, I would like to proceed with my testimony. Do I need to be sworn?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you'll give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, go ahead, Mr. McCarty.
All right, thank you. My name is Daniel McCarty Jr., and I represent Gina Murphy, who is applying to be named as executor in this matter. I am an attorney who's been practicing for over 30 years, and I've been handling probate matters for that period of time, actually for 25 years. My client, Ms. Murphy, is Mr. Murphy's daughter, and I can tell you that after a diligent search, I was unable to locate the witnesses to this will to bring them here today to testify. I have been able to contact Mr. Rowland and Mr. Harper, who are lifelong friends of Mr. Murphy. I will say that they have no personal knowledge of his will, and they've never seen the will, and I don't believe that Mr. Murphy's ever spoken to them directly about the will. But they do have personal knowledge about Mr. Murphy to the extent that it's relevant and it's important to the court. I can call them. Regardless, I'm here to say that I prepared the will for Daryl. which is now before the court, and I served as a notary when he signed the will. I worked with him over a fairly extended period of time, basically from February 18th, 2013 until September 25th, 2013. And the terms that I discussed with him and that I worked with him about were set out in the will and are the terms that he communicated to me. Specifically that his 3 children would be the beneficiaries of his estate. I was present on September 25th, 2013, when Daryl signed the will, and both witnesses were present in the room with me to observe him sign the will. I witnessed I watched the witnesses sign the will, and I signed along with them, as well as placed my notary on the document. From my observation, prior to Daryl signing the will, both witnesses were competent and they were qualified under the law to serve as witnesses. From my observation on the day that Daryl signed the will, he was of sound mind, had all his faculties, and signed the will of his own free will. I also did not observe him to be under the influence of any substance that might cloud his judgment or make him incapable of executing the will. Upon signing the will, I inspected the original will and I made a copy of it. Daryl left my office with his original will. Now, the copy of the will, which has been presented to me by Gina Murphy, is identical to the copy of the will that I made of the will on February 25th, 2013, and the day I observed Daryl sign the will. So the copy on file is the same copy that's been filed with the court today, and that is being sought to be a conformed copy of the original will. I have other witnesses who can testify and that knew Daryl in February 2013. They're here before the court, Mr. Rowland and Mr. Harper. They can testify that he was of sound mind. However, I don't believe they've seen or I don't believe they have personal knowledge of the will. So to the extent that you, Judge, feel like they need to testify, then I'm happy to do that. Regardless, it's my understanding that some courts allow the offer of evidence that the copy of the self-proving affidavit is a true and correct copy, provided no one's questioning its authenticity. In this circumstance, no live testimony of witnesses or the witnesses now before the court concerning the execution of the will is required. Specifically, the use of a self-proving affidavit is permitted pursuant to a copy of a self-proving affidavit is permitted pursuant to Texas Rules of Evidence 1003, and also the case law that applies that rule, which is Vince Cosente International Inc. versus Compass Bank. Under Rule 1003 of the Texas Rules of Evidence, a duplicate is admissible to the same extent as an original unless, 1, a question is raised as to the authenticity of the original, or 2, in the circumstances, it would be unfair to admit the duplicate in lieu of the original. Neither of these two qualifying circumstances exist. So my request would be to admit or use the self-proving affidavit as an authentic version of the original and proceeding here today. As was stated in Ms. Murphy's testimony, Darren and Patricia and Gina have all filed waivers of notice. And in those waivers, they acknowledge that they have a copy of the will that is now on file with the court. They acknowledge that it is a true and correct copy of the original. They acknowledge and consent to that being used in the probate here today. They do not object to the use of it. And therefore, I think that their testimony and their affidavits meets with Texas Rules of Evidence Rule 103 in our request there today. Darren, Gina, and Patricia are the only heirs of Mr. Murphy's estate. And so in this regard, I would request that the court admit the will to probate and accept a copy of the self-proving affidavit pursuant to Texas Rules of Evidence 103 in lieu of live testimony from witnesses, and in light of my testimony based upon firsthand knowledge of having witnessed Mr. Murphy sign the will. If the court deems it necessary, I can call Mr. Harper and I can call Mr. Rowland to testify as to their relationship to Mr. Murphy, that they recognize his signature and that in September of 2013, they knew him to be of sound mind.
Thank you very much, Mr. McCarty. That was very thorough. I appreciate that. And also the citation for the rules of evidence so that I can notate that in the docket entry, which I've done. So with that, based on your testimony, Mr. McCarty, and also the testimony of Ms. Murphy, I am going to not require that you call Mr. Rowland or Mr. Harper. I will approve your request to use the copy of the self-proving affidavit in lieu of live testimony of the subscribing witnesses. And I will sign the order admitting Mr. Murphy's will into probate and appointing Ms. Murphy as the independent executor. Sorry. I was getting a weird error message, but I was hoping that that didn't mess up our Zoom. So I'm appointing Ms. Murphy as the independent executor without the requirement of a bond and waiving the necessity for an appraiser. Ms. Murphy, you should get some instructions from the court regarding your role as the independent executor. And I'm sure that Mr. McCarty will go over those if you have any questions. Anything else, Mr. McCarty?
Yes, I just want to mention that the order that should be signed, I may have filed two different orders, but the order that that needs to be signed is the one that was filed on January 23rd, 2023 at 3:24 p.m. Just want to make sure we're looking at the same order.
On January 23rd?
Yes, January 23rd at 3:24 p.m.
Okay, I'll make sure that I'm making a note on my docket so that I will sign the right one. I haven't signed it yet, but that's the one that I'll look for.
Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you, Mr. Rowland and Mr. Harper, for being here today. I'm sorry that you didn't testify, but thank you for the support.
Yes, thank you both. All right, if there's nothing else, Mr. McCarty, you are all excused. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I have the correct order in your queue, Judge, okay?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm taking little notes on my docket, so it should be fine. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge.
I believe that Miss Azia, there she is. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is it Azia? Am I saying that correctly?
Azia.
Azia.
Azia. The E is A.
Azia.
Correct.
Okay, Miss Azia. Thank you. Can you please raise your right hand to be sworn? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you'll give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, Miss Ortiz, you may proceed.
Thank you. All right, Miss Azia, please state your full name for the court.
That's Christy Azia.
All right, and were you well acquainted with S.L. Brothers, the decedent?
Yes.
And what was your relation to the decedent?
His daughter.
Okay. Did the decedent pass on April 28th, 2021 in Harris County, Texas at the age of 72?
Yes.
And was the date of decedent's death less than 4 years ago?
Yes.
Okay. And at the time of his death, was Mr. Brothers a resident of Fort Bend County?
Yes.
Okay. I believe you have reviewed a document dated April 30th, 2018, which purports to be Mr. Brothers' last will and testament. To the best of your knowledge, has Mr. Brothers ever revoked this will?
No.
Okay. And is there a necessity for an administration of this estate?
No.
Okay, let me rephrase the question. So is there a necessity for you to step into the role
Yes.
of executor? And okay,
Yes.
so just
Sorry.
to clarify, there is a necessity for an administration of this estate, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Alrighty, thank you. After the date of the will, that's April 30th, 2018, were any children born to or adopted by Mr. Brothers?
No.
Right, and after the date of the will, again, that's April 30th, 2018, was Mr. Brothers divorced?
No.
Okay, well, Miss Azia, the will as executor of the estate, have you ever been convicted of a felony?
No.
Okay, and do you currently maintain a place of residence in the state of Texas?
I do. Yes.
Alrighty, and as far as you know, are you qualified to serve as executor and accept letters testamentary?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Isaiah. Your Honor, the will appoints Ms. Isaiah to serve as executor and act independently without bond. We therefore respectfully request that this court appoint her to serve as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz and Ms. Azia. Based on your testimony, Ms. Azia, I will admit the will into probate and appoint you as the independent executor without the requirement of a bond. I'm waiving the necessity for appraisers, and you'll get some instructions from the court regarding your role as the independent executor. I'm sure that Ms. Ortiz will go over those with you if she hasn't already. Okay?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
All right. Ms. Ortiz, if there's nothing else, then you are both excused. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you, you
welcome.
too.
Bye.
Bye.
Good afternoon, Mr. Freshwater. I see a C Brown in the waiting room. I'm not sure if that is your client because I have his name is Steven. So I just want to make sure.
Yeah, that's him. He goes by Steve, even though his formal name is Steven.
Got it.
So S. Brown is him.
Okay.
It was C. Brown. They said Steve Brown.
Mhm.
That's his brother's name, but he's the one who's there.
Okay. Okay, so he's in the room, but he's not connected to his audio, so he can see or hear us.
Yeah, I'm messaging him now.
Okay,
Here, I'm gonna mute and call him real quick.
that's fine.
Apologies. He's got people trying to work on it right now. I'm not sure what the issue is.
No
We had a
problem.
video demo like 2 days ago and it worked. So I didn't expect any
That's
problems
all
today,
right.
of course.
If he's got
course
if he's got some teenagers in the house, that's usually my go-to.
Right? Yeah,
Like, hey, come figure this out.
exactly. It looks like he's connected to audio now.
I think we got him. He's here. Yay.
All right.
All right, Mr. Brown, if you could please unmute yourself and turn on your camera. Mr. Brown, can you hear us?
I'm trying to ask him now.
There we go.
Here now.
Hello, Mr. Brown.
How frustrating. I do not know why this is not.
All right, can you, Mr. Brown, can you hear me?
Hey, you got the video. You could get Steve on there now. I can see you and I can hear you.
Can you hear us, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I'll call him again.
Yeah. Can you not get a hold of him? Yeah,
No,
I'm
so
not
he
getting
can hear
any
us.
audio.
Mr. Brown, can you hear us?
David.
Hands up, like I can see you. Or I can see
Charlie.
I can see Charlie. Can y'all just not hear out of it?
Yeah, we can't hear for some reason. It's got my headphones are all the way up. But for some reason. Yeah, that's what I was looking for, but I don't think I have a mini jack.
Maybe they can dial on using their.
So maybe I can just ask the questions over the phone. Let me ask her.
Actually, that works. I mean, because I can see him, and if he can hear you, he doesn't really need to hear me.
Okay. Hey, let's do that. I can ask you the questions over the phone, even though it's going to echo. But we can do it that way.
Okay.
Okay. So if I ask Mr. Brown to raise his right hand.
Steve, go ahead and raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you'll give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Do you solemnly swear that the truth you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I think I got that right.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Freshwater.
Okay. All right, we're gonna get into it now, Steve. Was the will of Jean M. Brown executed on April 25th, 2013?
Yes.
Has the will ever been revoked?
No.
Did the decedent pass in Missouri City, Fort Bend County?
Missouri City, Fort Bend County,
What day did the decedent pass?
September the 24th, 2022.
Does a necessity exist for the administration of this estate?
Yes.
Was any state government or charitable organization named by the will as a devisee?
No.
Were you named as the independent executor to act independently?
Yes.
All right, that's all the questions I have. We ask that the will be ordered to probate and the letters testamentary be issued.
And what is Mr. Brown's relation to the decedent?
Thank you for working with us here.
Hey, Steve, the judge had a question. What is your relationship to the decedent?
I'm her son. She's my mother.
Okay. All right, I will admit the will into probate and appoint Mr. Brown as the independent executor and no bond, and I'm waiving the necessity for appraisers.
Fantastic. Thank you for working with us.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Can we be excused?
Yes, you are
All right.
all excused. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. You're on mute.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Is
Who knew lip reading would be a judge skill, right?
is Miss Paul going to join us?
She is not.
Okay, so it's
just me. And
okay.
I'm the applicant and the attorney.
Okay. You're wearing both hats.
Yes, 2 hats today.
Understood. Okay. Well, then let me swear you in. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you will give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I did.
All right. And can you pronounce your last name for me?
Ballou.
Ballou. Okay. Go ahead, Miss Ballou.
Thank you. My name is Renee Paul Ballou. I am the daughter of the decedent. Do you need my social security number in this testimony, Your Honor?
No, I do not.
Okay. Jean M. Paul, also known as Jean, spelled Jean Paul, died on October 22nd, 2022 at Sugar Land, Fort Bend County, Texas, at the age of 92 years. 4 years have not elapsed since her death. She was domiciled and had a fixed place of residence in Fort Bend County, Texas on the date of her death. She left a written will, which was signed on July 12th, 1985. Decedent's will was self-proved. I reviewed the will prior to presenting it to the court, and I recognize the signature on page 6 as that of the decedent. To the best of my knowledge, decedent never revoked this will. A necessity does exist for the administration of this estate. No state, governmental agency of the state, or charitable organization is named as in the will as a divisee. After the date of the will, no child was born to or adopted by decedent. No marriage of decedent was dissolved after the will was made. The decedent's will named Renee Paul Ballou and Susan Yvonne Paul, who was not married at the time my mom made her will, but has married since then and is now known as Susan Paul Malios, to serve as co-independent executors to act independently without bond. Renee Paul Ballou and Susan Paul Malios are not disqualified from accepting letters testamentary or from serving as executors. Each is entitled to letters testamentary, and those are the persons named in decedent's will. I'm asking the court to admit the will to probate, appoint the co-independent executors, and to waive the appointment of appraisers as it's a non-taxable estate.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ballou. And can you spell your sister's married last name?
Mallios.
Okay, I was close. I only had one L.
It's tough.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. Based on your testimony, I will sign the order to admit your mother's will into probate and appoint you and Ms. Malios as the independent co-executors without the requirement of a bond. I'm also waiving the necessity for appraisers. You'll get those instructions from the court about what to do as the independent co-executor, but I'm sure you'll be just fine.
Okay, I do have a question about filing. I
Mhm.
file my proof of death immediately.
Yes.
And then do I need to wait to see the signed order before we file our oaths?
You don't have to. I'm going to sign the orders this afternoon, so they'll be in the system. So you don't necessarily have to wait until you can see them before.
Okay, I'll just wait and do
file
it in
them.
the morning, maybe.
Yeah, that's good. Just give it a little bit of time because I will go in and sign everything electronically this afternoon.
Okay.
It should be fine.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you for
You're
your time
welcome.
today.
No problem. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good afternoon, Mr. Berg.
Good afternoon, Judge. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. And is Miss Mendez there with you?
She is.
Right here.
All right, excellent. Miss Mendez, can you please raise your right hand to be sworn?
Oh, yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you will give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Berg, you may proceed.
Okay. For the record, please state your name again.
Claudia Mendez.
And are you the applicant interested in the case of the estate of Louise Cooper?
Yes.
Louis Cooper, deceased?
Yes.
Okay. Was he domiciled at 4023 Santerre, Katy, Texas?
Yes.
And did he die on February 21st, 2022 in Katy, Fort Bend County, Texas?
Yes.
And how old was he?
76.
Mr. Berg, I'm sorry to interrupt. If you could have Ms. Mendez please speak up just a little bit. I have my speaker turned all the way up and I can barely hear her.
Let me get her closer because she's
Okay.
more important than I am.
Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Cooper was domiciled and he had a fixed place of residence in Fort Bend County, Texas on the date of his death.
Yes.
Did he own real estate in Fort Bend County? Real
Yes.
property? Was it valued in excess of $10,000?
Yes.
Did he leave a will?
Yes.
And do you recall the date of the will?
December 24th, 2021.
And was it ever revoked?
No.
Okay, and it's the one that we filed in court?
Yes.
You recall that the subscribing witnesses to the will are James Armitage and Laura Rodriguez?
Yes.
And was the will made self-proving in a matter required by law?
Yes.
Were any children born to or adopted by the decedent after the date of the will?
No.
Was any marriage of the decedent ever dissolved after the date of the will?
No.
Is the state of Texas or any governmental agency named or a charitable organization named as a devisee in the will?
No.
In fact, you're the only devisee in the will, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the will names you to serve as an independent executor? And you reside also at 4023 Santerre, Katy, Texas.
Yes.
You are not disqualified by law from serving as such or from accepting letters testamentary, are you?
No.
Your Honor, I believe that meets the requirement. We submit her testimony to you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Berg. Ms. Mendez, based upon your testimony, I will sign the order admitting your will into probate and appointing you as the independent executor without the requirement of a bond and waiving the necessity for appraisers. And you'll get some instructions from the court regarding your role as the independent executor. And I'm sure that Mr. Berg will answer any questions you have about those instructions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Are we the last case on the docket?
No, I actually have, let's see, I think two more. Yeah,
Oh,
just
okay.
two more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, have a great afternoon, Judge.
Thank you,
very
Ms.
much.
Thank you.
You do
Yeah.
the same. Y'all are
Bye.
excused. Have a good day.
Thank
You
you.
too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good afternoon, Mr. McCarty.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes, thank you. And Miss Sabella is here.
Yes. I see her in the room. I don't see her camera on. Miss Isabella, can you turn your video on by chance?
I think I got it.
Got it. Perfect. All right, Miss Sabella, am I saying that correctly?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
You're welcome. Can you please raise your right hand to be sworn?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you will give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, Mr. McCarty, you may proceed.
Your Honor. We're here today asking for the court to convert this estate from a dependent administration to an independent administration pursuant to Texas Estate Code Section 401.002B. The decedent, Ricardo Sabella, passed away in 2014. Mr. Sabella's will designated a first name executor and two successor alternate executors. However, all three individuals who were named in the will failed to qualify to serve as the executor of his estate. At that time, there was an immediate need for the administration of the estate. So Ms. Sabella filed an application to be appointed as the temporary administrator of the estate, which the court granted on June 23rd, 2015. Then shortly thereafter, in August of 2015, Ms. Sabella filed a second application with the court, this time seeking her appointment as the permanent dependent administrator with will annexed. The court granted her application, and she has served as the dependent administrator of the estate ever since. Today, after being in a dependent administration for several years, Ms. Sabella and all of the distributees of the estate have come together and agreed that an independent administration is in the best interests of the estate. So to do so, and as required by the Texas Estate Code Section 401.002B, Ms. Sabella received signed consents from all of the distributees of the estate, which she filed along with her application that is before the court today. So in light of Ms. Sabella's application and the consents that are currently on file, we're here today to request that the court appoint Ms. Sabella as the independent administrator with will annexed, and that the bond requirement be waived, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, and so based on your, will there be any testimony from Ms. Sabella?
No, Your Honor, unless the
swore her
court.
in and everything. You can ask her anything now. She's under oath.
No, Your Honor, unless the court thinks that there's a necessity for it. I wasn't planning on getting any testimony from Ms. Sabella.
No, I don't think it'll be necessary. So so the request is to convert the estate from a dependent administration to an independent.
Yes, ma'am, by consent and agreement of all the distributees.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to approve that request and appoint Ms. Sabella as, and it's Nanette.
Yes, it's my middle name, Benita Nanette.
Okay. So I'm appointing Ms. Sabella as the independent administrator.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Is there anything else? I will sign that order and make sure that that gets done today.
No, Your Honor, that's it.
All right, excellent. If there's nothing else, then you are both excused. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hello, Mr. Brush.
How you doing, Judge?
So everybody else that was left, I just let them all in. So I hope that they're all here for your case. And I didn't miss anybody from an earlier case. I think all the names they all check off. on my list, so I think we're good. Except for. Okay, yeah, no, even, okay. All right, Mr. Rush is the attorney ad litem, and then Ms. Frenterhouse, you are the attorney of record, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, excellent. And did I get everybody correct in the room that's supposed to be here?
Yes, I see the two witnesses.
Okay.
Ms. Shepherd and Ms. Wellen, and then Ms. Rex is the applicant.
Okay, and Ms. Rex, if you could please turn on your camera so that we can see you. And then is Ms. Yule a part of this proceeding?
No.
Okay, so. Ms. Yule, which case are you here for? Can you unmute yourself? You're on mute, Ms. Yule.
Oh, sorry. Jean Brown, probate her will.
Oh, okay. I did not have you listed as a witness or someone that was going to be participating. And so we've already taken care of that case. I apologize. I didn't know that you were here for that case.
Okay, no worries. I handled all, I'm the controller for the boys and I took care of all their mothers, which is Jean's stuff. So Dean, I'm not Dean, but David Freshwater just probably forgot to add me. So
okay,
I'll get everything from them. Thank you though.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Yule. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay, I think we've got everybody now. All right, Ms. Frenterhouse, if you can please let me know, is everybody going to be giving testimony?
Yes.
Okay, so Ms. Shepherd and Ms. Chumley and Ms. Wellen, if you'll please unmute yourselves.
Ms. Chumley's not giving any testimony.
Okay.
She is the sister, but her sister, Ms. Rex, is.
Okay, and then Ms. Shepherd, is Ms. Shepherd giving testimony?
Yes, Your Honor, and then Ms. Wellen as well.
Okay, so Ms. Shepherd, I'll need you to unmute yourself. Okay, and could I please have Ms. Shepherd, Ms. Rex, and Ms. Wellen, please raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you will give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, okay, Ms. Frenterhouse, you may proceed.
Thank you. I call Sandra Wellen. Will you please state your full name for the record?
Sandra Prey Wellen.
And how did you know Linda K. Chumley?
She's my cousin.
And are you personally familiar with her family history?
I am.
How long did you know her?
Really since birth. And we've been around each other forever. Close to it.
So approximately how long is that?
Well, let's see, I'm 65, so let's say 65 years.
Okay, great. And did she die on August 22nd, 2022 at the age of 68 years?
Yes.
And at the time of her death, she had a fixed place of residence in Fort Bend County, correct?
That's correct.
And at the time of her death, was she married?
No.
Had she previously been married?
Yes.
And to whom and how did that end?
She was married to Jerry Chumley and they divorced. I don't recall the year.
A pretty long time ago, correct?
Yes.
So if I was to say it was in the late 90s, would you agree?
Absolutely. That sounds about right. The kids were small.
And did she have any children? Speaking of kids.
Oh, yes, she did. She had two, Shelly
and what? Thank you. Did she adopt any other children besides those two? Did she ever have any children that predeceased her? Did she ever bring any other children into her home and claim them as her own?
No.
And to the best of your knowledge, did she die without a will?
Yes, she did.
And you had conversations with her and she stated she didn't have a will, or or did she ever tell you she had a will?
No.
And has anyone paid you for your testimony?
No.
Has anyone promised you anything for your testimony?
No.
Thank you. I passed the witness.
All right, Mr. Brush, any questions for this witness?
Yes, Judge, just a couple questions. How you doing today? My name is Ben Brush. Do you remember talking with me? I believe it was mid-November timeframe over the phone.
I do.
And if you remember, we went through some detailed questions about Linda's life, relationships. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Since we last spoke, is there any additional information or anything else you would like to add?
No, I think we summed it up pretty good when we talked.
And are you benefiting from the estate of Linda in any way? Okay, that's all I have, Judge. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Fronterhouse, you may call your next witness.
Thank you. I call Mary Jo Shepherd. Will you please state your full name for the record?
Mary Jo Shepherd.
And how did you know Linda Chumley?
Linda and I first met when she moved across the street from me in 1981. We were neighbors and became good friends.
So are you personally familiar with the family history?
Definitely.
And did she die on August 22nd, 2022 at the age of 68?
Yes, she did.
And at the time of her death, did she have a fixed place of residence in Fort Bend County, Texas?
Yes, she did.
And at the time of her death, was she married?
No, she was not.
Had she previously been married?
She married Jerry Chumley, but was divorced from him in January of 1972. And I know that because I attended the divorce.
Okay, so would it have been, was that when they got married and they got divorced in January of 1996? You just said 1972. So since you didn't know her, that
I'm sorry, my error. January of 1996 was when the divorce was. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And she didn't get married after Jerry, is that correct?
That is correct.
And did she have any children?
No, she couldn't. She'd had a hysterectomy.
No, but did she have any children with Jerry?
Oh, yes, she'd had Kimberly and Shelley.
And did she have any other children other than Kimberly and Shelley?
No, she did not.
And did she adopt any children other than Kimberly and Shelley?
No, she did not.
And to the best of your knowledge, did she die without a will?
Yes.
And has anyone paid you for your testimony?
No.
Has anyone promised you anything for your testimony?
No.
Thank you. I passed the witness.
All right, thank you, Ms. Fronterhouse. And Mr. Brush, any questions for this witness?
Yes, Judge, just a couple. Good afternoon, Ms. Shepherd.
Hi there.
I believe we spoke a couple times, kind of mid-November and then maybe a few weeks ago. Does that sound about right?
Yes, approximately.
And we went through some detailed questions, just as how you knew Linda, relationships. Do you remember us going through that?
Say again, please.
When we spoke, we went through some information about how you knew Linda, Linda's relationships, things like that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Since the last time we spoke, do you have any additional information or anything else you'd like to provide?
No, not that I can think of.
And are you benefiting any way in the estate of Linda Chumley?
No.
That's all I have. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Frenterhouse, you may call your next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. We do rest on the heirship proceeding. And so now I would like to call Shelley Rex, if you'd like me just to go ahead and for the administration.
Well, we can just do let me do the heirship ruling, and then we'll go on to the administration hearing. All right, so based on the testimony, the court finds by clear and convincing evidence that the heirs of Linda Chumley are Kimberly Chumley Serta and Shelley Rex. And I am discharging Mr. Brush as the attorney ad litem, granting his fees in the amount of $1,060. Will that be paid by the estate or by the county?
That would be paid by the estate.
Okay, just making sure. All right, and Mr. Brush, with that, then you are excused. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Judge. Good seeing you.
Same to you. Bye. Okay, Ms. Frenterhouse, now we can call Ms. Rex for the testimony for the independent administration.
Thank you. And I don't have any more testimony from Ms. Shepherd or Ms. Wellen. And so I know Ms. Wellen is on her way to California. So I was just going to say, if she needs to keep driving.
Yes, keep driving. And thank you for pulling over. I'm glad I didn't see any trees moving in the background while you were talking. So Ms. Wellen, you are excused, and Ms. Shepherd, it seems that you can be excused as well. Thank you very much to the both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful afternoon. Be safe on the road.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It'll come up. Okay, I call Shelley Rex. Will you please state your full name for the record?
Shelley Ann Rex.
And are you the daughter of Linda Chumley?
Yes.
And she died on August 22nd, 2022, correct?
Yes.
And the date of her death is less than 4 years ago, correct?
Yes.
And at the time of her death, she was a resident of Fort Bend County, correct?
Yes.
And at the time of her death, did she own real and personal property?
Yes.
And because of this, is there a necessity for an administration?
Yes.
And because it's a non-taxable estate, are you asking that appraisers be waived?
Yes.
And are you asking to serve without bond?
Yes.
And your sister, who's also here on listening to the hearing, she signed a waiver of citation, and she's also signed an agreement that you serve as independent administrator, correct?
Yes.
And as far as you know, are you qualified to serve as independent administrator?
Yes.
Thank you. Your Honor, we ask that the court appoint Shelley Rex as independent administrator to serve without bond, and that appraisers be waived because it's a non-taxable estate.
Excellent, thank you. Based on the testimony, I find that Ms. Chumley did die without a will and that there is a necessity for an administration. I will appoint Ms. Shelley Rex as the independent administrator of the estate without the requirement of a bond, and I'm waiving the necessity for appraisers.
Thank you, Your Honor. May we be dismissed?
Yes, if there's nothing else, you are all dismissed, excused, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, you too.
All right, bye.